Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Brickey here with your weekly update. Sorry, no fancy intro music. Squeezing this one in before a trip back home to Kentucky. That's right, so many of you think I was born inside the berm of Disneyland, but no, just like Lincoln, I'm from Kentucky. By the way, it's great to see the Fantasy Fair back and all these folks enjoying a good show. But back to Lincoln. I know what you're saying, but Brickey, Lincoln is from Illinois. No. He was born in Kentucky. And what I've just illustrated to you, that there's a lot more to some of these stories than what we know. Stories, big stories, ambitious stories are kind of taken down to something that's easy to understand, like guy takes his daughters to a park, sits on a bench, watches a carousel go around and around and goes, maybe I'll reinvent the face of entertainment by creating Disneyland. And is taking a big story and making it more simple a lie? No. It's just making it an easy story to pass along, like Abraham Lincoln, the president that abolished slavery. And that's a great story. Who doesn't want everybody to be free? And if you just break it down into something that simple, well, then it's an easy story to pass on to all your friends. When we think about great moments with Mr. Lincoln, there's a lot of story in there, a lot of detail in there, but it gets kind of abbreviated down to, oh yeah, Lincoln, he did this, he did that, and is regarded as one of the greatest United States presidents of all time. But there's a little bit more to the story when it comes to abolishing slavery. And maybe this statue should have always been here, maybe this part of the story should have always been told, but I'm just going to go with this. I'm happy that it's now being told from this point moving forward. Because now Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln showcases Frederick Douglass, showcasing that there's more to the Lincoln story than how it's often told. And proving that Disneyland is a place that celebrates dreams do come true. Frederick Douglass was born into slavery and died a free man. Think of a better dream than being free. It does not exist. And for these divisive my party against your party times, here's a bit of Fred's wisdom. I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong. And the fact that I'm going to get some hassling in the comment section for showcasing that really shows how ridiculous these times are. All right, let's move over to this new project that popped up over in Frontierland. It seems that maybe they're redoing the statue that has Walt Disney's tribute to that land. Did you know that every original land has a plaque like this that has Walt's speech on opening day, where he would commemorate each and every land opening in Disneyland for the whole world to see? Way to go, Walt. Moving over to the Plaza Point Holiday Shop, or as I like to call it, the Christmas Shop Killer, I stepped in to see what they were celebrating as far as holidays go, and then I got completely sidetracked by seeing this sheet wall that's hanging in the corridor that connects it with the next door store. So I went over to the next door store and saw that it also has a sheet wall that is blocking off this corridor. As much as I would like to tell you that it's probably them getting ready for a great Christmas in July celebration, I think it's just some painting there in the hallway that connects the two shops. But while I was in the Christmas shop, or Plaza Point Christmas Killer, I did notice that there are these Star Wars ornament packs where all the favorite Star Wars icons look like gingerbread men, and then who doesn't love the Ewoks building a Christmas tree? And I also thought that it was interesting that even during the month of May, you can find Christmas decor for your Star Wars celebration. Over on the construction walls, the western end of downtown Disney, you can see they now have all of the Star Wars films celebrated on the walls. Last we were here on May the 4th, they didn't have the entire collection up. It is pretty neat to see just how much Star Wars we have been blessed with. I am a huge fan of Galaxy's Edge. I think that it is so well designed, but I've been noticing as I'm walking through its corridors and thoroughfares that the spires that are off to the farthest distance seem to be like they're getting pretty sun bleached. Now I know that as you paint, you're supposed to make everything that goes further blue. Like look at that last horizon of hills over in the Anaheim Hills there. You can see how in the earth, everything that we look at, the further away it is, the more blue it becomes. So I understand why the color has been stepped down. However, I feel like maybe the color they chose is wrong because it's starting to look very bleached out and almost becoming white. As May has become official Star Wars month, we know that Star Wars Celebration kicks off next Thursday over at the Anaheim Convention Center, and that Thursday there will be a Star Wars After Dark party happening in Disneyland. I'm going back for my second one, hoping for better results. I saw that the Book of Boba Fett photo op that used to be in downtown Disney has moved over to Launch Bay. Now, ignore me as the model. I would just like to point out that I don't think that the Disney Photopass photographers are very good photographers. Look at the cropping on this photo. Why would you not show my feet? Why would you not get in the full arch that's behind the throne? I'm often very confused at the cropping that takes place in the Disney park photos. And the reason why I bring this up is because they've been acting more and more as this is such a perk and making it such a big deal about their after dark parties, but the photographers 9 times out of 10 are horrible. Where are my feet? Where are the 2 skulls at the end of this throne? Like, what is the decision making here? Oh, I know, there is none. I just bring this up because photos are often seen as a perk and a main part of the After Dark events. And that would be awesome if you had phenomenal photographers. Or even average, which would be better than what we got. So on this event, which I'm not exactly sure what you're going to get, I'm sure photos are a big part of it, just like they were a huge part of Star Wars Night. Long lines where you could barely get a couple of photos in. And for what? Photos that are poorly cropped? I mean, you don't know what the photos look like until you're already 10-15 minutes away from the spot of the location. What do you think? Are you happy with our photos? And what do you think? Where's the Native American chief at? What, you hiding back there, bud? Where'd you go? And that's everything new I found this week. Okay, maybe this is going to be a little bit of a negative critique too, but the park's getting busier and busier, which is why I'm so curious about putting merchandise kiosks in the middle of major thoroughfares. Take Matterhorn Way, for example. This should be a fast pass across the long part of the park. However, the bathroom line backs up, there's people waiting for a parade, and then people stop to buy a balloon. Now you're jammed in the middle of what should be the easiest place to get through, Main Street, USA. There's no reason to clog the main artery of Main Street when the sidewalks are full of people getting in and out of stores, eating ice creams, waiting for parade, and now you gotta fight around this just to get out of the park. I'm all for making money. I love making money, but I also love being able to get from point A to point B with relative ease. Take the tunnel on the right, the proper tunnel. Why is Mickey right on the edge of the tunnel on the right, creating a line through the tunnel into the park? Disney has so many dead spots that could easily become meet and greets, merchandise sales, but they're insistent upon putting these things where they know the most amount of people will be. And I understand location, 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 but take Studio 12. There is nothing happening in front of this space. This could easily house a lot of different activities and bring people into a dead corner of the park. It's just so hard to get around sometimes, and when you're trying to get around things that are not in their proper space, it just adds a level of frustration. The Hyperion Theater is rumored to be coming back online soon, but what has already changed here is the massive seating area that it was providing for Avengers Campus. You remember when Avengers Campus opened, they took this entire courtyard and made it available for folks to sit back there and eat, because Avengers Campus doesn't have a ton of seating. But now, a majority of those seats have been removed, which totally makes sense if the theater is coming back online and if there are people waiting back there to get inside of the theater. But the preemptive pulling of the seats is just a little bit odd. Now, in Disney's defense, I did notice that less and less people were sitting further and further back. As Avengers Campus has kind of settled in, it doesn't seem that it has the demand that it did a year ago when it had just opened up. But envision using this as a massive character meet and greet or one of those precious photo op spots. This is a spot they should be actively trying to get people into so that other areas are more open for traffic flow. And now the Avengers Picnic is the part that I'm having the hardest time understanding. These tables and chairs being here, I swear you, they must kill and crush the souls of the Imagineers that work so hard on this land. Everything that I'm showing you in this section of update is all middle management decisions to try to make as much money as possible and try to make the park feel as crowded as possible. And while revenue and attendance may be up, magic is starting to feel like it's on its way down, as it's hard to just stroll through the park anymore without tap dancing around some strange line. Oh no, did I do 3 negative things in a row? Okay, trust me, I do love Disneyland. I just also love them so much that I know they're capable of doing better. 3rd negative story in a row. Why is this not being used? Why is it every time I come through here, this amazing stage is not being used to its full potential or any potential? I've seen guests come by and stop and stare and they're like, is something going to happen? Should something be happening? And the answer is yes, something should be happening, but no, nothing is going to happen. They've seen the success of Avengers Campus and how it gets everybody all fired up and talking about it online. I don't know why that doesn't trickle over to Galaxy's Edge. Or minimal, why don't we just get some new props every now and again? Oh, I know, because this land is stuck in a moment of the Star Wars timeline that nobody really cares about, including Disney Plus, who continues to make products that have nothing to do with the timeline of the theme park that they built in both of their US parks. I really hope soon that they do a special anniversary in Galaxy's Edge, like 50-year anniversary of Star Wars New Hope. And then after that, they quietly just get away from the timeline and they let this fully be free of those ridiculous timelines and let this be a Star Wars land. Pirates of the Caribbean, opening June 1st. There you go. That's something positive. The greatest attractions Disney has ever made, the last attraction that Walt Disney himself ever laid a hand on, will be back June 1st, bringing life back into New Orleans Square. But before that, we'll see Fantasmic coming back online. We've been seeing the entire show, like every bit of this amazing show has been getting worked on, re-put together, and now it's going to come back with these 2 little stages. So Mickey will be tap dancing over here with his flare fingers, so watch out. The flare finger wingspan is pretty big. So this is what we're going to refer to as the Fantasmic burn area. Of course, that's not happening, but it would be cool, right? Little tap dancing Mickey. All right, so we're seeing the walls pretty much off the main part of New Orleans Square, the main walkway, the part that I always refer to as the amphitheater. And with those walls being done, we're starting to be able to see how much open space came from this reshaving, resculpting of what has been one of the most busiest parts of the park for many, many years. And with making it more flat and more open, it should technically be able to hold more people for Fantasmic, which is a great nighttime festivity. So let's look. Here's the untouched bottom level. Now on the second level, we see that it still has all of the different areas that make it feel kind of trapped inside, so it definitely feels like it's a nice seating area. We still have flower beds, we still have statues, but we also still have props that are embedded inside of the ground. You can see that big square ahead, that's where one of the big projectors comes out of the ground. So we have this little cutaway because that has to remain. But when we go up to the third tier, that is when we start to see the biggest difference in these massive concrete pieces that were laid out, how all the flower beds have been cut down, and the flower beds now have become major bench spots. I don't remember seeing that many people sitting everywhere because I believe before there were a lot of wrought iron gates around a lot of the different landscaping. So you can see there's people sitting there, but look at the space between these 2 flower beds. Now I'm shooting with a very wide lens to give you much Disneyland as possible, but this amount of open space just simply did not exist before. I do love that little brick block with one light post coming out of it. That's kind of funny. Looks something like you'd see in the Universal Super Mario Brothers Nintendo World that's coming soon. I don't even know what it's called. Anyways, let's rotate back over here and you can see the crowd flows pretty good. We see lots of people sitting everywhere. So the third deck has really become quite expansive with a lot of open areas, which to me says that there's going to be a nice path to get around this over to the Haunted Mansion or back to Galaxy's Edge during the nighttime shows, but just during the day, a much better people flow, which is something that I'm eagerly looking forward to. Now over inside of the French Quarter, you can see there's still some construction walls up as they're going around just kind of fine-tuning the project and getting it all taken care of. But a week ago, 2 weeks ago, you could not actually walk through here. They had barricades on each end. Over to the right, you see the Blue Bayou is still under walls and they're working inside of there. And then further down at the corner of 21 Royal, you can see that there is a construction wall. Now looping around, looking back on the exit of Pirates of the Caribbean on the left, Blue Bayou on your right, you can see that this is an area where they've gone through. It all still looks pretty good. I'm not exactly sure what they've done on the ground. Now this is the area, the pinch point that we had been looking over legally over the wall because the wall was lower than the rail. And you can see that it's all sculpted out with a nice traffic flow of people able to zip across the 2 different paths without colliding, without stopping. As long as they keep strollers in a nice area, this all should keep flowing. When we look over at the Pirates of the Caribbean show building, we can see that there are 2 trees that are appropriately sized. I think these trees could maybe get 3 feet taller, but I would hope that Disney keeps them trimmed down so we can enjoy seeing the beauty of this facade as well as the front of 21 Royal. All in all, this could have been a disaster of a project, and I feel like it was really well done, sculpting this area in a way that will benefit all of us, as Disneyland has just become a crowded play.
Honest take, with the one tree missing, and as much as I love going over that bridge and getting beautiful views into Adventureland or down in New Orleans Square, you can already tell that the people flow is going to be so much better, and that is with the footprint still there and the walls. It's just the eyesore of the tree wrapped in the scrims. It just is one of those things that creates a mental block, and it makes people sort of slow down, stop, and try to figure out what's next. You can already see that once this is fully removed, you're going to have such a better flow past the Bermuda Triangle of Disneyland into New Orleans Square. And as sad as I am to see anything go, I'm kind of excited to see what this looks like. And keep in mind, this portion of the treehouse was never original. It was something that was added, so it's not like a treasure of Walt Disney was ripped out of the park. Those things I feel like are pretty safe these days, but this was something that was added for Tarzan, and just the removal of it has already made this area feel so much more open. And my guess is once those construction walls are down and the concrete work is properly be done, people are going to be buzzing. And you're going to be thankful when Fantasmic lets out, or when you're not seeing Fantasmic and you're just trying to get over to the Haunted Mansion. Trust me, I think that you will be excited how easy it will be to get around one of the worst pinch points inside of the park. My next favor to ask Disneyland is let's remove the strollers in front of Pinocchio, because between King Arthur's Carousel and Pinocchio with the strollers there, it's outrageous. It's outrageous that you would narrow that path down to maybe 4-6 feet. That's next, but we'll celebrate this obstacle for now.
Moving over to DCA, we can see there's some construction walls now all around the outer edge of The Little Mermaid, which is interesting because I had initially thought, well, maybe they're redoing the concrete walkway, but the concrete walkway for the excess of crowds is still there. So this is everything that's happening on the edge of Little Mermaid going out to the parade route. So I'm assuming because they already did concrete work over in Hollywoodland that this is just the same thing they're going through and doing concrete work, still leaving some areas open, but there are no parades that are happening inside here right now. So as we walk along the length, you really get an idea of just how deep and long these are. A little cut out here, which if there was a parade, that'd be the scariest spot to be stuck between those two walls. But as we journey along, you just really get the idea of how much space is over here and how much space these walls are taking. Like I said, probably just some concrete work that's going on. It would be neat though if a little bit more plant life was put over here, more trees planted, more little gardens, whereas over in New Orleans Square, they did all of that in the middle of the walkways. And here it would be great if they were actually flush up against the show building, right? Like just some little planter areas, some various different trees, just something to add a little bit more vibe because it's very concretey over here, and also to maybe provide some shade for people that are waiting for an afternoon parade, which I do hope an afternoon parade comes back to DCA pretty soon. It's always a nice vibe when there's an afternoon parade here, but you can see this concrete work is all on the other side of the show building. Seems like they're still working on some different things with World of Color, but the show has been happening on most nights, and it's just awesome to know that DCA and the rest of the parks are just slowly getting back to normal. And as we spin the camera around here, we can see what it looks like for the dining packages and just how much space that actually take up to get all those people in there that have paid extra money to get a premiere spot to be able to see that evening's World of Color performance. All right, let's move over to a couple smaller projects. I've been keeping my eye on this slow roll of the Silhouette Studio coming back online. They have a little note in the window that I showed you a couple weeks ago that says, don't worry, our cutters are off, but they'll be back soon. I really hope this does reopen because this is one of the most unique and quite affordable for what you're getting souvenirs that you could take home from Disneyland. So I'm excited to see this one come back online and more of this. Less consumer goods, more creative stuff like this. And over at the Fantasyland Theater, I was able to catch a little bit of construction going on for the Festival of the Lion King that will be there in about a week, which is going to be exciting to see Festival of Lion King, have a really nice stage, a nice home. It was a great show that really suffered from being directly under the sun with no cover and DCA. And do you have the heart to tell this duck that's already waiting for the show to come on that there's no ducks in the show? Sorry, buddy. All right, friends, let's do our weekly construction update. If you look there between the two major buildings, you can see that there's dirt on the ground, which means that the removal of the asphalt has gone all the way up to the edge of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is that big khaki building you see on the left. But we can look over here from the top of Mickey and Friends. We can see that all the sculpting has been done on the outer perimeter of the land, just waiting to get its paint job and whatever textures they're going to put on it or anything that they're going to attach to that. But as we spin over towards the Fantasyland Theater, that's about all that we can see of ToonTown from this vantage point. But I do love coming up here and looking down inside of it. I'm really excited to see what this major overhaul is going to look like. I have always been a fan of ToonTown. I really love the design and aesthetic, and I think that this is going to just improve it and strengthen that love. And then from Fantasyland, I could see that they're putting weatherproofing on what will be the top of the El Capitan Theater. So we'll be able to see a little bit of this coming online from Fantasyland as well. So we're really keeping our eyes on this project. Excited what this is going to look like when we can get in there next year. Be here before you know it. So ToonTown is the major construction project happening inside of the parks, but outside of the parks, there is a massive DVC tower that's being built over at the Disneyland Hotel, as well as this odd project that's happening over in one of the parking lots, which I believe is probably going to be a sample of the rooms that you could buy over at the DVC Club. You can see that it looks like they put up some sort of, I don't know if it's drywall, because drywall is not weather resistant, but you can see that they've attached some sort of paneling on the frame that they had built. Now going over to actual DVC Tower, we can see this thing is really coming along nicely. We now have 2 completed floors above that open atrium, and they're working up on a 3rd floor. And I have some historic footage, because I do come over here every week, even though I don't share it with you every week, to show you how far they've gone. So just 2 weeks ago, that 3rd floor and the second one doesn't even exist, right? Like there's one walkway there, and then at the second walkway, there is nothing. And then if we go back 2 weeks after that, they just had the bottom atrium built, or the breezeway that will go to the DVC pool on the backside. So here we are at current day. You can see they attach these little walkways where they can work on the outside of the building, because you always look at a building like, how do you work on the outside of the building, because it looks so complete when it's done. Now shooting down the whole front of the new DVC Tower towards the Frontierland Tower, you can see that the 2 floors are pretty much complete the whole way down, and then you can see a lot of rebar off on the far distance where they'll be pouring more concrete as this project starts to go more and more vertical. So this is happening pretty fast. So in a couple of weeks, we'll probably see all of that rebar full of concrete, and that means that they could easily be up to 4 or 5 stories in no time flat, which is pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned, because it just seems like such an insane amount of work. Now here's the ultimate sign of how tall it is. Look at it compared to the monorail slide, because that's going to be a great indication of just how much height we see week after week. Now another big look all the way across the front, you can see that level 1, level 2 are pretty much fully completed, and they're starting on that level 3 over from the right and then working their way over to our left. Once again, let's check in with the monorail slide to kind of get an idea of our height, because if we go back a couple of weeks when it was just 1 story, you can see that this is much lower. Like there was hardly anything hanging over the Disneyland pool area where guests come into that gate. And then as we go over a little bit further to the right, you can see, look how low that is compared to the slide. As of today, it's about halfway up the slide. So the slide's going to be a really great indication of just how fast this project is taking off. And like I said, I don't show you the footage every week because I know it's not everybody's top priority of what's happening at the resort, but I do film it every week so we can get an idea of when I do show you the footage of all the steps along the way. Shout out to the Sidewalk gang, because look at this. That's fresh sidewalk, baby. This is what this area looked like at the beginning of the year. We were one of the first ones there to realize this was going to become the staging area. I told you, hey, I think that they've already fenced this off, because this is going to be the staging area to get up to the construction site, because this is when you could see that the AMC theater still existed. This was a shot I was doing a lot where I would line up this sign every week, spin the camera around, and give you an idea how things are changing. And over to the right, you can see them actually preparing the colorful construction walls that are in downtown Disney. Well, now today, all of that is back to kind of being open. They moved the fence back. They've added some parking spots, but you can also see that there's a curb poured in there to kind of get in and out. So it's going to be very interesting to see, what does all of this mean? Why did they open this up for a few parking spots? What's to come? And why is that car not over in Cars Land? We have an escapee. We have an escapee, all units. This is the area that they poured and brought in for this project. That used to be bushes. That used to be a sidewalk.
Friends, I'm standing in the middle of the area, which was one of the very first parts of the western end of downtown Disney construction project that we ever saw happen, when I could tell that they knocked out the sidewalk. They had created this area to be the loading area where they would be able to bring all the heavy equipment and various different materials in through the area that I'm standing in, and then go up to the construction site. This has been somewhat opened up to parking, which kind of gets me in that weird question of, do we think that this area will become a more connected space to the soon-to-be announced Pixar Pier Hotel, or will this stay parking? Does the shape of downtown Disney stay exactly the same, or does it grow in this area? Very interesting that this spot of the construction project is already reopened. What does that mean? There's not a lot of activity happening over there. It's very interesting. Like, why would you reopen it for just a few spots? Why wouldn't you leave it shut down to allow nonstop entry and exit from the construction site? To me, it indicates that a big chapter in this story is being unfolded right in front of us. This was the first big thing that happened. Now we're seeing this reopen. It says to me that something different's happening. We're in a different phase of this construction project. Keep watching Update every Friday to figure out what's next.
Very interesting, though, that this was one of the first things that happened, and now this is one of the first exterior changes that we're seeing. Does this mean that the parking lot will stay and that now they'll be able to just drive trucks up to the site to drop off whatever materials they have? I don't know. Let's look around this corner because there's a lot happening. Over to your right there, that green scrim that you can see, that's going to be the Pixar Pier Hotel path over to the Pixar Pier, assuming that that's what they named the hotel. I mean, they got to, right? But you'll be able to go around the edge of the Grand Californian and work your way in. Didn't see as much construction there this week as I did last week. I'm pretty sure this project's probably pretty close to wrapping up. Let's go over to now the Paradise Pier Hotel and just kind of get in some looks before all of this goes away. All of these suns will be removed. We saw a more modern design that would be put all around here, get rid of some of that lattice that looks like the construction walls that we're so used to seeing, and also that horrible beachside trim across the top that makes it look like something that you would see like Pensacola or someplace like that. Remove that sun off the front. There will be little Pixar balls going down the whole way, and then this sign is going to be like a mosaic of modern art that kind of fits the vibe that they're going for. Inside the lobby, Goofy's going to be replaced with what's his name? Flashlighty and Beach Ball. They'll be in there. Everybody loves Flashlighty and Beach Ball. Flashlighty and Beach Ball are going to be great, but this is the thing I'm most curious about because this is kind of what benefits me the most. Right now, there's just sort of this dead little cafe in here that I've never seen open. I think it might just be early morning for guests. But if there was a Pixar themed or just a nicer restaurant put in here, that benefits us all because I love eating at the restaurants that they have over in the Grand Californian, and I used to love eating over the Disneyland Hotel, but unfortunately got rid of Steakhouse 55. If you want to get a collectible for this moment in time, these souvenir coins, this is a great get right now because these are obviously going to be gone and they're commemorating a part of the park that doesn't exist anymore. So if you're looking for a rad souvenir, this would be a really fun one to get because that's all history very, very soon and you can still mint it out. Looking back over at the parking lot, that's the area that I was just showing you. You can see how easily those stanchions could be removed, vehicles could pull in, and then they can drop off the supplies for whatever we're going to see get built next. And then just spanning back over to the Grand California Walkway, you get an idea of kind of how all of this is situated. There's a huge piece of construction equipment there on the backside. I would strongly recommend not staying at this hotel this summer because it's just going to be surrounded by construction noise, even though Disneyland hotels are pretty sound secure being next to a theme park. This one is going to have a lot going on. They're currently working on the pool, and this construction project, I have no idea. This has been getting tinkered around with even back in the Touch of Disney days or Free DCA days. I remember seeing that. But looky there, you can see the monorail from this part, and that's something I haven't been able to see in quite a long time. Well, like a little snippet, but not the whole monorail. And then what's this? What, we're going to stand here and just look at a white wall? Like, how insulting is this? Like, there's not even a graphic on it? What's happening here? Oh,
Go away, you will. Go away.
Yoda, what's up?
Go away, you will. I'm on my lunch break.
I just had a quick question for you. Can you
Leave me be, you will.
what are
Leave
you
me be,
eating?
you will. I'm eating salad.
share it with me?
Share the experience I have.
All right, friends, this is going to be it for update. It's so loud back here. Grad night's happening. All right, you know what? Smash like, subscribe if you like this. Give it a thumbs up. It's so loud. Thanks, 1313. You know what? I'm done. I'm out of here. It's too loud. See you guys next week. Hope you enjoy this.
Drinks over at Smoothies and footlong wieners over at Award Wieners. Let's get it going, 22.